All right, let's look at this photo first. We can roughly divide it into two parts. These two parts are the snail's shell, and below is its body. When we draw it, we're still organizing the form, right? Well, let's start. As I was saying, I've reached this point. Let me raise this up a bit when drawing. Just a little. Good. Now let's look at our geometric shape. Come over here. Gather it in and think of the head as a small form. The bottom should be wider, the top a bit tapered. Now what comes next? Well, isn't there another layer? Okay, moving on, there's also an overlapping relationship here. What's in front and what's behind? In front, we also have two small antennae. I'll increase this curve slightly, which makes it stand out more. See how this makes the relationship clearer? And then we continue upward. Everyone can follow my thinking, right? We go from simple to complex. This section has this kind of separation. Coming out from here, the curvature represents its undulating state. Look, now when we form this shape, we don't need to measure point by point anymore, right? We're familiar with it now. Good, okay, now we have the basic form. After this, we'll continue downward. All right, following this state, see how when I erase it doesn't come off? Now let's continue downward. Regarding our approach, when drawing we can start anywhere, but we should begin with the shell. Let's first create an outline. Come and see. Let's change the shape a bit. We don't need to insist on a special value. That's not necessary. With these curved and twisted variations, the whole thing will look better. Good, let's try again. Now we can see the outline of the whole thing emerging, right? Let's continue working downward. For overlapping relationships, you must be clear. You can't just skip over this part and then move on. Remove the foot. See how they overlap here? Good, we found some variations. Be careful here, this part is more complex. First remove the foot here. Okay, this is essentially the outer contour, and we've already created it, right? It's actually quite simple. Now we just need to figure out how to render it. This little snail's outer shape is actually quite simple. We'll ignore the textures inside and just focus on finding its basic form. What we're creating is basically what we often call a silhouette. Everyone understands what a silhouette is, right? Then we'll work on the interior details and expression. The key point is that it still looks too simple and not very appealing. Let's continue working. Let's work on this area. I'm trying to show you how to express it. Look here. Add a bit of blurriness. Continue. Does it look more rounded now? We can use these smaller lines. Hey everyone, do you notice a small pattern forming? Can't see it yet. Let's keep going. Good, let's continue. It will become obvious soon. It's getting more and more defined now. Let's deliberately add some variations. Look here. How's it looking? I've intentionally made these lines curved. That works, right? No problem. If it's not clear enough, earlier I made these sides more dense. We can make it even more dense, that's no problem. It will look better as we go. Good, let's continue with this side. I'll make this area more dense. Let's move downward and continue. Change. When we're doing this, what can you do? Go find that change like how the teacher does it, right? Our family can also do it in our own way, but what's the difficult part? The difficulty is some family members don't express themselves, right? After finishing the outline, they don't know how to express it. This is what we need to learn. Adding these elements makes it look better. Moving upward, let's give it some relative flowing space here. Good with these additions. Doesn't it look much better than before? Let's continue and work on this small local area. Some small details and states. For the body here, everyone can see clearly how we express it. Yes, right? I'll draw some smaller blocks, different sizes. You must note we can't make all decorative elements the same. Everyone can see that whatever we create, we're looking for rhythm, right? Dense areas, basic areas. Similarly, this is the characteristic of the small snail. It's denser here, right? See how it moves forward the same. Let me show you. Look at the whole picture. Isn't it more distinct now? It came out quickly. This is relatively simple, just a sketch. What I'm teaching everyone is how to express it to make it look better. Focus on the visual effect. Isn't this simple little snail quickly drawn for everyone? Well, some might ask, teacher, do we need to draw these grouped patterns? No, you don't. We need to capture the main features. In our picture, there must be black and white, a contrast between dense and sparse. So we don't need to express like this, like that. We don't need to express it this way. We just need to focus on its key features and the whole little snail. I also suggest to families that if you have a child, a little friend, why not let them draw too? Their drawings will be more meaningful. We can let our little friends try it. So that's good. As we were saying, we've finished drawing now. After drawing, some parents said, teacher, I think it doesn't look very clean. What do we need? Didn't we just have some background color that wasn't wiped clean? Now most of it is barely visible. Whether we wipe it or not doesn't matter. Some families have what? Oh, want to make it cleaner? Why? We can just wait for it to dry. We must wait until it's dry, then use an eraser to wipe it off. If it's not dry and you wipe it, the picture will be smudged. So let's not do that, okay? The main issue here is about expression technique. Some of the things we learned earlier, don't forget them gradually. I'll introduce some different expression techniques for different animals. Alright, families, our lesson ends here, okay? Okay, bye-bye families, bye-bye.